Everyone, welcome to Coffee with Eddie. We're going to try to do things a little bit differently today, since we are trying to do our best to exercise social distancing. Because of that very fact, I've gotten together with my friend Cheryl Carroll with Fairway Home Mortgage and with Tori Crowell with Louisville Title, and we don't necessarily want to come out and try to sell people and tell people, hey, the market is still great, the inventory is low, and interest rates are low. We really just wanted to inform people of how things have changed as far as real estate is concerned. So you may have been one of those people that over the course of the first quarter, January, February, March, had considered trying to sell your home, considered, this might be the right time for me to buy a home. And then March came, and then everyone needed to experience social distancing and exercise that for the safety of everyone. And now you might be thinking, well, how has this changed things? How am I going to be able to buy or sell a home now? And, we feel that things are going to continue to move forward. Eventually, people are going to be able to start to get back to work. Hopefully, people will be able to get their kids back into school. But until there's a true vaccine out there that people can really feel comfortable with 100%, it's definitely going to change the way that things are done as far as real estate is concerned. And, real estate is a people business. From start to finish, there's a significant amount of steps, and there's lots of people involved: a buyer's agent, a seller's agent, the buyer, the seller, the title people, the mortgage lender, the appraiser, and the list goes on. So because there's so many steps involved, we really wanted to just take the time to maybe have a discussion amongst ourselves, and maybe it'll give some insight to you on how things are going to change here in the future. And the fact that we're doing this on a Zoom meeting is one of those things that have changed. So normally we'd probably be sitting around a conference table for Louisville Title and having this meeting on a video on video together, but we're using Zoom, which is something that I have already done. This last Thursday, I had a listing appointment, and I sent the documents through Dotloop, which is an electronic signature program. And I had that listing appointment with my client. We were on the phone for approximately an hour and 15 minutes. And we went through the whole process and got the ball rolling for them to get their home listed for coming soon. And it's going to go live on May 5th. So as far as the buyer's concerned, Cheryl, I guess I'll turn this part over to you. One of the things that realtors, we try to get done immediately with a buyer is getting them pre-approved right away. And normally I'd send them right over to your office to see you. So how has that changed as far as meeting with people and getting documents signed?
Well, we do have electronic document signature. So that's one option, is to do an online application. I also am still talking to all of my buyers on a regular basis. So I take the application over the phone and get everything started that way too. I have a mobile app that has a scanner on it, so for any documentation that I need, if they don't have a scanner, they can use that. It's all secure. It goes right into their file. So that's changed a little bit too. Instead of having to bring documents over to me, there's a scanner that's now on that application. So that, and again, it's secure and it goes right into their secure file on my laptop. So that's one way we started. But you were also talking about how we are all right now social distancing, and many people have been laid off of their jobs. Right. And I also would like to say, for those of you that are laid off, you shouldn't be too afraid of applying for a mortgage, because again, we can hold on to it and have the contingency be as soon as you go back to work. Mm-hmm. So especially if you know a date that's coming up. Some people don't even know when that's going to be. But, that way you're looking, you're preparing. What if you have some credit issues? We can work on that. We can, get a plan in place. So there's a lot of things that can be done over the phone and online. So just like us right now, it's like we're all sitting in the same room together.
Right. So Tori, when I take a listing, I just got this listing put together. I normally want to do a pre-start to be able to see what's going on with the home, if there's any encumbrances that have been involved with the home in past sales, if there's anyone that's still on title, if there's any old liens that haven't been expunged. So that part is step one for me as far as the listing is concerned. So has that changed at all as far as me being able to make those things happen with you?
No, we've been able to maintain kind of business as normal as far as the process on the title side is concerned. One of the things that we did do immediately several weeks ago to adhere to the CDC guidelines for social distancing in the workplace, we immediately moved over half of our staff to their home office, if you will. Technology is a great thing. We were able to get them all up and running, those that could at home, and provide a kind of a seamless transition for not only our staff, but for our clients as well. For the members of our team that can't work from home, some of our title examiners, we've done a split shift. So we have people coming in shifts so that we, again, can maintain that social distancing without kind of missing a beat as far as the title process is concerned.
So I can continue to move on and list a home virtually by meeting with my clients through Zoom, by sending them electronic documents to sign, by ordering a pre-start through you, and getting that ball running seamlessly just like we have in the past.
Absolutely.
So from that point on, there's several steps that'll happen. So in the buyer process, Cheryl, we have we've found a home, let's say. So I've sent the buyer documents electronically for them to be able to sign. We send it back. What's going to be the next step, and do they have to meet with you again, or do they have to meet with you, or can these next steps also be done electronically?
These next steps also can be done electronically. So we can send the documents to them electronically. And most people like to go through those documents because they're all numbers and, you know, costs and payments and rates and all that. So what I will do is when we send them, then we'll include with that a follow-up saying, when you're going to be looking through these, please feel free to reach out. Let's schedule an appointment. They can go through and electronically sign with me on the phone with them, just going through each of the documents. We can both have them pulled up at the same time and go through them page by page so that they're comfortable with what they're electronically signing. But yeah, we can move on remotely.
So I had a conversation with an appraiser just yesterday to ask what they're doing and if anything's changed for them, because the appraiser traditionally has gone into the home, and today that may not be possible because of how the appraiser feels about entering a home, or by what the seller feels about someone else coming into their home, because no offense to either party, they're strangers to each other and they have no idea who's coming into their home.
Right.
My understanding is that appraisers are allowing drive-by appraisals now. Is that what you've heard?
In most cases, yeah. So we're getting a lot of appraisal waivers too. So appraisal waiver meaning you have the choice if you don't even want to do an appraisal. So we have some of those going on. Other ones, we do have some drive-by appraisals, yes. With all of the online accessibility to houses, as a realtor, if they've taken really good pictures of the house so that the appraiser can use some of those pictures so that they can make a qualified decision. And then there's also automated systems that they have in place too, so that they can make a qualified decision on the condition of the house and the value of the house with what's selling, sold, that in the neighborhood.
So traditionally, Tori, after everything's been completed from start to finish on the purchase of a home, the ball goes back to you guys, and you guys bring us all together. So how does that affect us now?
So unfortunately, a lot of the documents related to closing still require wet signatures. There are some options for some electronic signatures, but not everyone's on board with that yet, just because of the sheer nature of how fast this has progressed. So we're offering a couple of different ways to move forward with the closing. We offer mail-away closings where we can get documents to clients in advance. They have a chance to review things, but they still have to work with us or someone locally for notary purposes. So we can do that. We've also been able to go to certain people's homes that aren't able to leave during this time. And that's all just planned in advance, and everyone's very cautious and careful. Our team wears masks and has gloves. Everyone's trying to, provide that peace of mind. We've also offered drive-up or drive-through closings, if you will. So some people just don't want to leave their car. And so weather permitting, we're able to go outside and sign documents at their car, so to speak. It's a little different, but we're making it work. And then we're still offering the traditional closing in the office. We're just changing things up with that even though a little bit. All of our buyers and sellers are now divided into separate rooms. Normally you might have 4, 6, 8 people in a closing room, depending on who all attends. We're really trying to limit the number of people that are attending and giving them that extra peace of mind by putting them in separate rooms. We also have installed plexiglass dividers on our conference room tables. So giving, again, that separation of airspace, if you will, as best we can to just make everyone feel more comfortable. And again, our closers are all wearing masks and gloves. We're sanitizing the room after every single closing, making sure that we're stocked up on our disinfecting wipes and sanitizers, and just really trying to offer as much peace of mind that we're very concerned about everybody's well-being and keeping everyone socially distant.
Sounds like Jim and John may need to install a drive-up window.
That could come.
So it sounds like electronically, all three of us can accomplish most of what we need to get done to go through the entire process, if not the whole process. I know, Tori, in your case, getting a notary to sign things is a critical part and may need to require somebody from your place or maybe an attorney or someone who is a notary to sign those documents and finalize the transaction.
What's nice with some of Cheryl's documents, I know, is they pre-sign electronically as many documents as they can, which makes our closing package with them for the wet signatures a lot smaller. And that's a really nice feature that Cheryl's clients do have.
So there's a couple of things that I purposely had omitted for the time being, just so that I could focus on what you guys bring to the table in regards to inspections. So I spoke with Josh Brink at Brink's Home Inspection earlier today and asked him what steps he's taken to be able to have an inspection done for people, because traditionally buyers would go to the inspection. The buyer may want to see some things firsthand, be able to speak to the inspector on the spot to be able to see things that may be critical or things that were in question before. So because of social distancing, the seller may also have a problem with somebody coming into their home. So he's got some options available. If the home is vacant, it makes things a little more simple. If the buyer chooses just to stay at home, Josh will do the inspection. He will provide an electronic document for them to be able to see the entire report and also include digital pictures. So it's pretty easy to see when there's a problem to deal with. You can see it. You can see his words exactly describing what's going on in his recommendations. But if the buyer chooses to be there, if it's a vacant home, they can choose to be there. He recommends that they wear a mask and gloves. If it's an occupied home and the seller allows it, he recommends that they maybe show up at the end. So they don't need to be there for the entire 3-hour process. If he's roaming around inside the attic, on top of the roof, inside a crawl space, that's wasted time for the buyer to be sitting there. So there's really no purpose of them to be present at that point. So it makes sense for them to maybe show up at the end just to make things a little more simple. Or again, he can call them later in the evening to be able to finalize those things. And then touching on the appraisal process again, just because some people may or may not feel comfortable with that, the appraisers, it sounds like, can do a drive-by. Some people are waiving appraisals, Cheryl, you had mentioned. So those,
they don't have the choice. I mean, we have to give them that choice, though. I want to say they can't just decide on their own to waive it. It has to be something that on that property is eligible for them.
And I don't know if you would know this. Is that something that's become standard with all lenders?
Pretty much. It comes through when we run a property through our evaluation system when someone's in contract, depending on the person's, their whole scenario of their loan, and also, have assets, putting down a decent amount of money. The property meets certain criteria, the property itself, because when they have the address in, meets certain criteria, then it will, their evaluation system will allow for, the originating system will allow for an appraisal waiver on, I want to say on occasion, because you don't get to request it. It will allow you tell us that it's passed through the model necessary, meets the criteria. So I would say,
So there's a couple of addendums, actually one addendum and one questionnaire that our office has created. So the questionnaire is for the buyer to fill out with their realtor before they go see the home. So it's a COVID questionnaire. It asks if they've been out of the country in the past 14 days, if they've had a temperature, about 4 or 5 questions. It asks them to understand that because of what's going on right now, that they need to exercise caution and to please wear masks and to please wear gloves. And then they're required to sign it and put their address on there, because obviously we want to be cautious for the seller, especially if they're still living there. And because the buyer is going to know where the address is, and the buyer could easily find out who the seller is. So we just want to make sure that we have some transparency when we go to sell a home. But something else, and I'm not sure, Cheryl, if you've seen one yet, or Tori, if you've seen one yet, but we have a COVID-19 addendum now that we include that basically says that if the buyer experiences or the seller experiences anything as a result of COVID-19, whether that's a loss of job or a medical concern, that unfortunately they may lose their appraisal and inspection money, but we are going to return their earnest money, because that's an unforeseen circumstance that people really can't prepare for, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, we don't really collect any fees up front other than the appraisal, and so we're really not able, so we don't have anything to give back. So the appraiser has collected his money. That's on the appraiser if they want to waive it, I guess, but I don't collect anything. I don't collect an application fee or anything like that. So I don't have something to give back. And we have had some clients right before closing, lose their jobs or get laid off. But has not happened too often. And we try to prevent that by just staying on top of the employment. We do more employment verification, making sure we stay in communication with our clients all throughout the entire loan process, so that if something does happen, that we're on the first to know basis, so that we can see what we can do to help them. Maybe there's a non-occupant co-borrower we can add, or maybe the sellers are willing to extend because they know how. So we try to do the best we can when those situations do come up. Hopefully they stop here pretty soon.
So if someone feels that maybe their job loss is temporary, or maybe as we go through the process, if the buyer or seller maybe isn't experiencing the health concerns to the degree that some others have, there may be a chance where things could come back together if we can find an alternative method for financing.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
The other thing, Eddie, I'll tell you just quickly from a title perspective, if a transaction falls apart or is put on hold per se, there's no cancellation fee on our end either. So there's really no risk for your client to worry about being invoiced or charged for services on our end if something were to either be postponed or canceled.
Same thing. I can throw in here too, because it's along the same lines. Even getting pre-approved, like we said at the beginning, people shouldn't be worried about being pre-approved, because if something did happen, it just means we have to put a contingency on your pre-approval, that you go back to work, or we can make a plan. So I don't want people to say, well, I don't know what's going to happen with my job, so I don't want to get pre-approved. I understand maybe not pulling the trigger at that exact moment, but get pre-approved and be ready to go, because this is going to stop. This is going to end. And then I think there'll be a lot of changes.
It's just a matter of when it's going to end.
When. Mm-hmm.
So one of the other
Right.
things I wanted to touch on is, in my 15-year career, and actually this May is my 15-year anniversary. I started right before the recession. So it kind of feels like things have kind of bookend themselves with, uh, some circumstances that are making it a little more challenging. That I've only sold one home where the buyer had not seen the home. It's not something I would recommend, although in that particular case, the buyer had been traveling a lot. Inventory was incredibly low, and when he got back into town, we would go out and we'd see homes. And because the inventory was so low, by the time we'd go see homes, let's say we had 5 set up, there might only be 1 left, or there might be none left, and we would have to just keep putting things off and putting things off. In that particular case, a home went on the market on Saturday. I scheduled to walk through it on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. I did a preview. I had already told the listing agent that I was doing a preview, and if it were possible, and I think this home would be the home for my buyer, would they allow me to do a FaceTime video while I'm there? So I may need a total of 2 hours, and they were happy to accommodate us. So I did that. I walked through the entire home. I took a full hour to do that. We wrote the offer by sending the documents electronically, and he didn't actually see the home until 2 weeks later when we were going through the inspection period. So today's circumstances are a little bit different because it just may be a case where somebody may not want to go inside a home, I guess. I would strongly encourage we figure out a way to cooperate with the seller to be able to make something happen. But it is entirely possible that someone could get start to finish through the whole process and not even get inside the home through the possibility of using technology to guide us with that. So when I list a home, I always use a virtual tour. So somebody could use that virtual tour to be able to see, get a better glimpse of what the home looks like rather than just photographs. It's possible for me to go through the home and do a FaceTime video. So it would be possible. I don't necessarily recommend it, but if somebody had some concerns but still really needed to buy a home, that a relocation client would be a perfect example. They're limited on time. They can only get into town so often. That may be a case where that could happen. So if need be, those things can happen. So the benefit of having a virtual tour as part of your listing could be a great benefit, so you can reduce the people traveling through the home.
Eddie, technology is such an awesome thing, right?
Yeah.
And we're finding that, the closing is supposed to be like the best part of
happy
the
day.
Really, happy day. And people like you and Cheryl, you're trusted partners in that process with your clients. And normally both of you would be right here in the closing room with your client, and a lot of agents and loan officers are no longer attending just to help maintain that social distance and give everybody their space. But we've done some Zoom closings and allowed an agent or a loan officer to be right at the closing table like we are right now. And it just your clients want you there, and if there's questions, you're right there. And it's not seamless, it has some hiccups, but we're working on it. And I think that, like anything, this is just all really unknown to a lot of us.
I think that's awesome to know, because what I've been doing is contacting my clients, because some title companies just tell you don't come, we don't want you here. So what I've been doing is contacting my clients right before closing and saying, hey, I'm not to be at your closing, but I'm like right here. So just, no, I'm waiting for you throughout your closing to answer any questions that you have, but I'm hoping that I've prepared them for closing, confirmed all the documents are there and ready to go. Like you said, we have fewer that need to be signed, hard copy signed. So we've got that. And then I always do a follow-up after closing, say, hey, how did it go? But knowing that there's Zoom closings is kind of awesome.
Yeah, and the agent or the loan officer has, started that process kind of like Eddie did with us today, and the client is able to pull it up on their phone, and it's like having you right there. And currently we're in the process of trying to set it up on 2 of our closing rooms at our Arrowhead location so that you're right up there on the big screen, Eddie.
Oh, that's awesome. The big deal on the big screen.
That's right.
You know, and I think that is important, Tori, because I mean, this doesn't happen often, but sometimes there's a glitch that pops up at closing that all parties, if we're there, could help get it resolved quickly and easily. So an addendum gets missed, or maybe there's somebody catches a typo in the names on the addendums and somebody needs to initial signatures. And so to have somebody available through Zoom to be able to see what's going on to help catch those things, that's a great benefit. I'm glad you brought that up.
No problem.
Well, guys, in closing, do you guys have anything else that you'd like to bring up that you think would be important for people to know?
I would just say we are looking forward to helping buyers and sellers through the process of purchasing and selling homes, and we are open for business. And I know in our industry, everybody gets excited about the term clear to close, Cheryl, but at Louisville, we are clean to close. And we like to pass on that message that we are clean to close and open for business. And we just want to, you know, be part of that home buying and selling experience.
Yeah. And I guess along those same lines, I would like to also offer, if there are people out there pre-approved, Eddie, if you have buyers that are pre-approved already, they want another opinion, or they just have questions or concerns regarding everything that's going on and how we're going to operate, how we're going to do business, how have guidelines changed, how have they changed, am I pre-approved, any kind of questions that they have, please feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to answer questions for anybody too, if it's just answering questions.
Well, Tori and Cheryl, I appreciate the time. I appreciate all the efforts you guys have gone to be able to help make this an easier process for everyone to get from start to finish and to have an enjoyable process. These are just a few of my trusted partners that I work with. And if you have any questions, please reach out to any one of us. Again, my name is Eddie Campos with RE/MAX Preferred Associates. I'll have our contact information as part of the video. And I hope that everyone is safe and healthy, and we'll talk to you soon.